Hello, everyone. Welcome to Savik the Wise. We're here to talk about the connections between Donald Trump and Russia. Not really a conspiracy theorist, but I guess you could say I have a theory. And just putting it out there, getting the feelers out there. Let me know what you all think. I think there's a couple things people aren't connecting here, but yeah, let's get right into it. So, starting off, let's get to Trump's first trip to Moscow. Now, this is an article from 2017. I believe this is related to the Steele dossier. Um, but basically, it goes into a lot of detail about where they're kind of getting all of this information. Yada yada, this general, KGB general, something, yada yada. It's a bunch of backstory about the Soviet Union. It's right near collapse, so they're checking out capitalist options. So, in 1987, the KGB um, sent Trump to Moscow. Oh, that's not the. That's not even the one. That's not even the one I wanted to highlight. Whoops. Anyways, but they. This is all basically saying that the KGB uses a tourist organization called Intourist, and that was basically an arm of theirs, and they used it to try to get agents. So this is a very long article. Like I said, 2017. Um, so yeah, this is Trump saying in January 1987 in his book, I got a letter from Yuri Dubinin, the Soviet ambassador to the United States, that began, "It is a pleasure for me to relay some good news from Moscow." It went on to say that the leading Soviet state agency for international tourism, Goskomintourist, had expressed interest in pursuing a joint venture to construct and manage a hotel in Moscow. Like I said, that Intourist is pretty much a KGB front. And which is said right here. My bad, I'm out of order. And yeah, basically, Trump went to Moscow, talked about a hotel, and nothing came of it. And as you know, there's still not a Trump hotel in Moscow. Well, lately there's been different reasons for that. But how many times did he go to Moscow to try to get business deals and everything? Well, there was first he met with Gorbachev in Washington, 1987. Then he was invited to the Soviet Union for that hotel. And in 1996, almost 10 years later, he again went to with a proposal for a luxury residential complex. Bunch of deals, bunch of kind of, every once in a while, powerful people will mention Russia. There's patents, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of stuff happens. But he traveled to Russia a lot. So in 2006, Trump's children went to Moscow. And in 2008, Donald Trump Jr. stated it was one of six trips he made to Russia over a period of 1.5 years. 2007, Trump goes to vodka again to promote vodka, the very successful vodka company. And Trump announces a partnership with Affliction, and this is funny because in the day, a friend that I had ordered that Affliction event with Fedor Emelianenko, and it was the worst event we've ever ordered because all the other fights weren't that good, and the fighter Fedor, who we wanted to win, lost. Spoiler alert. And lost quickly. So we paid $50 for 15 seconds of a fight or something like that. It wasn't great, but that's what happens in MMA. It's just it's funny how everything's coming full circle for me right now. But yeah, Trump tried to do a partnership with Affliction. Not relevant. Fourth trip to Moscow for a Miss Universe pageant. You know how he loves those Miss Universe pageants. How did we ever get here? Um, yep. And that was all the connections prior to his election. And then Putin called Trump to congratulate him on his victory. Now, when Trump got back from Moscow in his very first trip, he was changed. You see, he all of a sudden he spent $50,000 or something on New York Times ads. Um, I believe it was New York Times, and it's basically calling on changing America's defense policy. Before he had talked about denuclearization and other things, but suddenly he gets back from Moscow and has an entirely different view on American defense policy. That's pretty big red flag. So now, in between Trump's first term in office and his current term in office, that 4 year gap, Bob Woodward, very famous Watergate reporter. Let's see. In the famed Watergate reporter's latest book, Woodward reports that Trump asked an aide to leave his office at his Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago, so that the former president could have a private call with Putin in early 2024. The aide, who Woodward doesn't name, said there have been multiple calls between Trump and Putin since Trump left office, perhaps as many as 7 in that period, according to that book. Now, what's a former president aspiring to be president again talking with Vladimir Putin about 7 times privately? We know at least one of the times he sent a COVID-19 for Putin's personal tests, COVID-19 testing. He sent a machine for that because Putin was very paranoid about it, rightfully so at the time. I don't know if you'd seen him, but at the time he had been sitting at very long tables, so it was always very funny watching everyone, his defense advisors, way on the other side of the room, them talking, all because of the fear of COVID. So Donald Trump had helped him out with that. And that's just one subject. Why do you need 7 phone calls, right? And remember, all this classified information, all that stuff is going on. So let's fast forward a little bit here. Um, So, in an interview with CNN, Brian Butler, who is a man that worked at Mar-a-Lago, said he helped Trump aide Walt Nauta load 10 to 15 boxes onto Trump's plane at the West Palm Beach airport near his resort in June 2022, when representatives from the Justice Department were meeting with Trump and his attorneys about unreturned classified material. So, they were the classified banker's boxes, like in this image right here. And yeah. So he did not, at the time, said he had no clue they were classified. I mean, we were just taking them out of the Escalade, piling them up, Butler told CNN, adding that he told federal investigators about the movement of boxes. I remember they were all stacked on top of each other, and then we're lifting them up to the pilots. The indictment also alleged that maintenance advisor asked Trump employee not to tell anyone about a trip by Nauta because Nauta wanted the trip to remain secret. Indictment also alleged that De Oliveira told the employee that Nauta wanted De Oliveira to talk to Trump employee number 4 to see how long camera footage was stored. And as part of the indictment, suggests that Tavares may be prosecutors described a conversation in which they said De Oliveira told Tavares that the boss wanted the server deleted. So that's covering up of the evidence that they're moving these classified documents. And where did those documents go to by plane in 2022? Um, no one really knows. No one really knows. But a lot of things happen in the world that seemed a little fishy. Russia started doing better in Ukraine. Um, there's a lot of movement on the front line, but they suddenly they were making a lot less mistakes. Their generals were getting blown up less, et cetera, et cetera. And Hamas had um, Hamas had broken through one of the most fortified walls in the world, besides the DMZ between North and South Korea. One of the best defended areas. They found very sneaky ways to get around that wall and slaughter roughly 2,000 innocent Israeli people, or 1,000 to 2,000. I forget the numbers right now. Innocent people, which then led to the ongoing invasion of Gaza from Israel and then the ongoing genocide. More on that later. But I just want to say that these documents went missing, and no one's painting the connections that some of this could have gotten to Hamas through Iran, through Moscow, because that's the alliance. That's the chain of alliances, and basically they could have been informed on how to penetrate and when to penetrate the Israeli defenses. Um, Also, Moscow could have gotten some aid with how to persecute their war, Vladimir Putin. More on that later, though, because you know Epstein and Donald Trump. Oh, you might have heard about them. They're in the news a bit lately. So let's just go to this. They in an article from realestate.com.au that they first kind of had their first falling out over property because they were both real estate magnates or whatever they call them, and in um, so let's see. They clashed in 2004 for Maison de la Miti. I'm not saying that right, I'm sure. An opulent oceanfront mansion dripping with grandeur. And Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein both wanted it. Here's some pictures of that gaudy looking place. I don't know how rich people live in that grossness. Anyways, they both wanted it. Blah, blah, blah. Look, they're buddies. Um, ba, ba. Terrible house. The auction day, November 24, 2004, unfolded. Blah, blah, blah. So in 2004, Epstein made an opening bid at 37 million, and Trump outbid him with 41 million. So he got it. Um, and 4 years later, he sold it for 95 million, double his initial investment to a Russian businessman, Dmitry Roblox, for staggering 95 million. That's quite a lot of money, and it feels like a back being scratched because why would anyone buy it for that much if it was clearly bought for half as much? I'm no real estate um, fancy guy, so who knows? I don't know. But of course, it was sold to a Russian oligarch, Russian businessman oligarch. Um, and of course, meanwhile, by late 2007, so 4 years after this, the House issue, reports surfaced that Epstein had been banned from Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort over unsavory conduct involving underage girls. He would use a spa to try to procure girls. So this says that they were working together in Mar-a-Lago, but basically he went to the wrong girl, and one of basically her father was probably also a rich man, and friendly fire. So he tried to get a girl with a rich father, and the father found out, and Epstein was banned from Mar-a-Lago. That doesn't feel like any sort of oh we're disgusted by his actions kind of thing. It's more of a he picked the wrong victim. So Trump and Epstein buddies, of course. And yeah, so there was that. Now Trump also had a phone call with Netanyahu. Right. Let's see. Donald Trump told a crowd of supporters that he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday. This was 20. No, it's not. This article is written 2024. Um, Mainly about the Middle East wars. According to Trump, the Israeli leader said he disregarded President Joe Biden's warning to keep troops out of Rafah in southern Gaza, a decision that resulted in the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar and a shootout in the area. Trump also said Netanyahu asked him for advice on how to respond to Iran's missile attack on Israel, to which Trump said he responded, "Do what you have to do." Now that's problematic. As the Slate.com article points out, if Netanyahu did say on the phone that he's ignoring Biden's warning about restraints on the use of armed force, he may have done so in response to a request by Trump. because we did not hear that phone call. Don't accept any ceasefire deal offered by Biden. If I win in November, I'll offer you a better deal. This is very illegal. It's basically kind of akin to espionage against the United States. If he did that, so allegedly he could have said, "Hey, if you don't do a ceasefire, I'm going to give you a better deal than the Democrats will when I'm elected." And so any sort of strong arming by the Democrats to stop Netanyahu, if he knew that this Trump deal was incoming, would have been easy to ignore because it makes the Democrats look weak, and he would just, if they would lose like they did, but maybe even worse. Uh, or if he were to acquiesce, like who knows how the election goes. The genocide in Gaza was a huge issue to a lot of the Democrats' base. Um, so basically, what I'm saying is Trump is likely acting with foreign partners, even when he's not president, um, in order to scratch each other's backs when he's president. And there's so many cases of this. But one thing I want to point out is all these connections that Trump has. Um, like he's a real estate boss in New York City. You have to you have to have some connection with the mob or the mafia to be in that industry. I'm pretty sure. This is conjecture, obviously. You he's got obviously he's got connections with the KGB. That's I mean he went out there at the behest of a KGB agent. That's fact. That's a lot of stuff's been debated, but he went out there to look at a hotel, and Intourist is a KGB platform. Um, so he met with them in '87, the KGB. Now that's a long connection. So he knows them up. He knows the KGB, and you know what? He might be a little bit. He might be able to use the work of Mossad. And if you don't know, Mossad actually has probably has more foreign agents in our country than any other intelligence agency. Partially because we look the other way for that sort of thing, but they're just there. You know, the CIA is a good agency. The KGB was a good. By the way, KGB is now modern GRU. I'm sorry if I've been using that interchangeably, but that's the modern intelligence agency. Vladimir Putin's a former KGB agent, um, and so the KGB doesn't exist anymore. But all their agents basically just switched around into the more modern GRU, the General Russian Military Unit, whatever, the military service. And so basically, Trump has all these connections. So, Epstein, 3 minutes missing between the mob, Mossad, and KGB. He had options. He had plenty of options, and there's almost certainly dirt on Trump. Now, the victims, Trump's victims, are still here. They are. We don't harass them. You know, don't make their lives harder. But they have testimony out there. There's testimony about Trump out there. I'm not. I'm never. I don't think I'll ever say it on this page that I just started because it's graphic and it disgusts me. But yeah, uh, what are the lawyers? What are they going to do? Sue me for nothing? I don't need to be careful. Yeah, I think Trump's on the list, and I think he did the Epstein thing. And I know I made a lot of random connections here. They seem random, but it's just a theory. Like, why did that Russian businessman buy that giant mansion? By the way, that mansion was bulldozed for a new modern version. So he bought a mansion for 100 million, bulldozed it. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Replace it with a new modern building. But all of this, and he became president. I don't know why the CIA isn't dropped the ball. I don't know if they're in on it. I don't know if the world's deep states. My one theory I have is that the the Russian oligarchy have basically teamed up with America's capitalists, and now they're working together to create a Russian democracy, a Russian style democracy in the United States, complete with elections. Um, just a theory. We'll see if I we'll see if I go where I go with this. But just starting this page, just getting this out here. I'll probably be sharing things that are a lot less conspiratorial, but which still make connections that people don't realize they're there. I play a lot of grand strategy games, and there's a lot of teamwork in the world. You know what I mean? And there's a lot going on with militaries and politics, corruption, and there's some interesting. We live in interesting times, so I'm hoping to share with you what I find makes these times so interesting. All right. Well, have a good one. This has been Savok the Wise, and you know I must be a fool for calling myself wise. Thanks. Have a good one.